BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy. It's episode 445 of BigRedBarel UK. You know what that means? That's right. It's a show and it's a thing and we're on it. That's what it means. There's Coleman over there. Say hello, Coleman.
Hi!
And the other one over there is Tim. Say hello, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Pop quiz. What's my name? Say it. Say it.
Dr. Dan.
Candyman.
All right, that's close enough. It's close enough. I'm Dan. Hello. Welcome
Candy
to the
Dan.
show, one and all.
Candy Dan.
Coleman was having an adult beverage and looked like he was having a whale of a time. Talk us through what your adult beverage is today, Coleman.
It's a diet soda. There is no alcohol in it.
I assume since you were using a straw that there was some kind of...
No, just better
Some
for
kind
your
of
teeth.
cocktail.
Wow.
So I'm just being sensible.
Wow. Well, we're middle-aged this episode. Before we were recording,
Were we not last episode?
Yeah. So we were talking about the virtues of power washers and getting decking in your back gardens. So
Is that it? Have we crossed the line now, Dan? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, listeners, if you're ready for a rip-snorting ride around the world of video games, you've tuned into the right place. Let me tell you that, young fellama persons. So there's actually, as per usual, a bunch of news about to break in the big summer game thing. But we're going to be done recording before that happens, so you can hilariously laugh at all the things we didn't talk about that you're going to know about.
I think by the time this has come out, Summer of Games is tonight as we're recording. Then tomorrow is the kickoff for E3. So I don't know who starts off. Ubisoft, maybe?
I think so. I think it's
someone.
Yes. So anyway, but no matter what, we're going to have a boatload of stuff to talk about next week. So, Timothy... That means you need to get some video games out of your system, sunshine.
Is that how it works?
I
take
think
the video
so.
games out of the system.
This week's video games out of your system.
Okay.
So your mind isn't troubled by needing to talk about them or thinking about what their menus look like.
I've only got 12 to talk about this week then.
Good, lovely.
It's funny because I got sent a couple of games to talk about on the show, and I thought. And I completely mixed up the dates and thought E3 was already, some of it would have happened by this point, so I purposely didn't play them, and I was going to wait till next week, but really I've got the dates mixed, so they're going to have to wait 2 weeks for me to talk about these games.
Oh,
yeah, indeed. And I just haven't had time to play much in the way of games at all, as per usual. I'm for those of you who've been listening since the Sarcastic Gamer days, I'm evidently slowly turning into Doc, is what's happening. That's exactly what's happening to me. So,
what charity are you launching?
All right, throw shade at me, why don't you?
To be fair, Doc wasn't a doc or a doctor, and you are. So
there you go.
Right.
I've got this idea. We play video games for 25 hours and we call it One Up. What do you reckon?
I like it.
Yeah. And all that money goes to our back burner. We just pretend it's a charity.
Wow.
If you don't say the actual charity, can you do that?
No.
If you just say we're raising money but don't specify what it's for, and then people assume it's for charity.
No,
surely.
That's called that's for GoFundMe, I think is what you're confusing it with.
My apologies.
You know.
I have important surgery.
Yeah, do you now?
Yes, hair plugs. I've got to raise money.
Right. Wow, you're going to need a lot of money, mate. Or you're going to have to start seriously backcombing your beard in a major way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Fun times.
Games. Tim, you've been playing games like it's...
I have been playing some games.
The late 90s. You've been playing games like it's 1999.
I've been playing games like it's between 1983 and 1993, I believe. It may be 84 and 94.
But I thought VF5 was a little bit later than that.
That's later, but I think Virtua Fighter launched in the UK in 94, I want to say.
Yeah. No. So anyway, Tim,
Yes.
Whichever game you've been playing about, pick one, because I'm going to slip into a coma regardless, so crack on.
You mentioned Virtua Fighter 5. I only played a little bit of that, so we'll get that out of the way. But that's just come out on PlayStation Plus. I believe it's been released on other platforms as well. Obviously, PlayStation Plus, not paying for it. If you've got PlayStation Plus, it's definitely worth downloading. The Virtua Fighter series has always been one that's kind of concentrated more on a slightly more realistic view of fighting styles. Like, this was the game that has, more kind of
compared to, well, admittedly, if your benchmark is Tekken, where you're punching a giant bear in the face,
Tekken is
probably.
Tekken is all out ridiculousness, and kind of Street Fighter is like flashy super move, big kind of fireballs and dragon punches type thing. This is a lot more. Not entirely without its kind of, arcade trappings and kind of arcadey feel, and it's not super realistic graphics, but it's definitely more on the realism side of things than most of them. I would say like a good parallel is like Soul Calibur. What Soul Calibur does
my
for
favourite historically accurate fighting game.
But what Soul Calibur does for like weapon combat and kind of having fighting styles within that, this does for just fighting styles, and it's kind of just it feels a bit more bare bones at times, but it's done really well, it's polished really well, it's got a really balanced roster of people that are generally got like people that you come up against that any character can give you difficulty, but most of them have got a way to beat them with the character that you are type of thing. And like it's always a game that I forget how much I like until I go back and play another one, basically. I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually really good. I've always had a bit more an affinity towards Dead or Alive, but I think over time Virtua Fighter has... I think the original Virtua Fighter had ring outs, I believe, yeah? But I don't remember if it had destructible environments. I can't remember if it had destructible environments that then led to possible ring outs.
In the later
like
ones, it did. I think
that came Virtua Fighter 3. I think.
Yeah. I think it was later editions.
Also, interestingly, I think some of the main people on the original Virtua Fighter ended up getting poached for Tekken. So
yeah. Well, I imagine there's
just to throw around how closely knit all these fighting games were back in the 90s.
Is it they got poached because they got caught playing Tekken, or they were poached? I see what you mean.
Because Virtua Fighter, the big thing in the arcades was Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat at the time, and then Virtua Fighter, New Kid on the Block, 3D graphics. Wow, isn't this amazing? Look how realistic this looks, and that kind of then spun off into the whole 3D genre of fighters. You got your Soul Edge and your Dead or Alive. In fact, I think Dead or Alive actually came from the same system as Virtua Fighter and the original Tekken as well, but apparently folks got poached from Sega to go to Namco to work on Tekken.
Stop poaching people.
I think there's quite a flow of people between different kind of Japanese fighting game studios from one to the other. I think the same's true of going from Street Fighter to Tekken and vice versa and stuff a bit as well.
Sonic the Fighters as well, that spun off from this engine.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, you're right.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I think there's an optional extra you can buy where it gives you, and I think it's the skins of the original characters in this fighting engine.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird. I think it's like £8. I didn't pony up
like
for that.
The original
I don't
Virtua Fighter
I don't
1.
think that age of graphics has aged well in the history of graphics yet. I don't know if it's just a passage of time thing. 8 and 16-bit looks nice to me as a graphical style. If you made another game in the style of the original Virtua Fighter, I don't think that would be...
What's not to love about playable characters with a fixed expression like this?
Or the nose that came off of one of them, I remember. That haunts my dreams.
I've got a massive nose, all right? You don't need to start taking the piss out of that.
It's just that nice little retro throwback thing where they're going, hey, polygonal characters, but in reality, the characters' skins that the retro character skins that appear in this are more detailed than the originals because they had to put more polygon edges on to make it look right in the over the skeletal frame of the original characters. So
Tim,
yes.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Why is this even a thing? Why does this exist? What's the purpose of releasing Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown? Why should people care?
And how many versions of Virtua Fighter 5 are there now?
I know.
Exactly.
Is this the 6th one?
I don't think this is a massive improvement on that. It does have a PS5 version, which I've been playing. I couldn't tell you, like, graphically how different it is because I wasn't that experienced with the previous versions, but it does look reasonably nice. Like, I wouldn't say it looks like a massive graphic powerhouse, but all the characters are reasonably well presented. The one thing I really do like in its engine is the way characters react to counter-attacks and stuff like that. If you're counter-throwing someone, the actual animation that it gives you, where you go some of the way and then they counter you and it goes back type thing, is like the way the characters interact. It looks very good and realistic and what you've seen in kind of movies of the same thing type thing. And yeah, I just... There's something about the fighting engine, as I said, they've always leaned towards the realism type of thing, but there's something about the kind of the interaction between the characters and the animations that go alongside that really just helps kind of nail that, the feeling of being in an authentic and at times slightly over the top. There's a bit of flashiness going on in terms of, like just red things and blue sparks appearing here and there. But generally it's as I said, it's kind of more focused on the realism. The structure of the game is also kind of geared towards pushing you to play online. One of the things I quite like about that is on the main menu, you've always at all times got a live online match, or I don't know if it's live or just, recently played, but it's got an online match video just playing in the main menu the whole time. So even if you're like hovering on the main menu deciding what to do, it's got a match that you can sort of watch while you're doing it, which, just a little thing, but I thought it was quite good. But then, it's got an arcade mode that you can play through. You just fight against all the other characters, and then you get a one chance, one hit deal kind of thing, like try and beat the boss Drow. It says it's a bonus character rather than a boss character, but you get one chance to try and beat them, and if you don't beat them, that's it, game over, basically.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And they are tough.
I mean, I had heard one criticism of this. Well, some people have been framing it as a criticism. Other people have been framing it as a really good thing. That actually, this is a pretty light touch. It's not a remaster. It's literally just a kind of bit of spit and polish to get it running on modern hardware. I mean, where do you fall on that? Do you think it's kind of suitably faithful to its original material, or do you think that it could have done with a bit of updating in some areas?
I would have liked to have seen a couple of extra new characters, perhaps, but as I said, it has a very balanced roster, and maybe that's something that's a bit more hard to introduce other characters to than other fighting games, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, that would have been, one nice thing. They have added a lot of things that I don't care about, like background music, new background music, and apparently the levels have been redone and stuff like that, but I don't care about that very much. And it's still
Virtua Fighter 5... Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's still not like massively... still not massively impressed with the levels. It's not like, oh my god, the detail in there is amazing. Yeah.
Because Virtua Fighter 5, that's... outside of the arcades, that is an Xbox 360 PS3 game, and then all went quiet for the last generation until the current generation is out. But then they went, by the way, because there was rumblings that there was some variant of Virtua Fighter that was reworked for esports, and that got revealed, because I think it's got a different name in Japan. I think it's like Virtua Fighter eSport or something really silly like that. Yeah. And then the next day that got leaked. They went, Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, PlayStation 4 exclusive, PlayStation Plus, out now. And so it was very quickly announced. But a lot of it seems to be reworked for, here's the stuff that was included in the previous versions of the game, even though we're going to add more stuff and sell you through DLC. Yeah, but a lot of that is, as you say, like extra music, some backgrounds and things that
it's something that
were included previously.
Big fans of the games, a big fan of the game might want, but I can't see most casual gamers that are just picking it up to have another fighting game being that interested in those things. But yeah, look, it's a good game. I'm not sure I would necessarily pay money for it if you already got one of the other versions, but it's on PS Plus. If you've got it for free, it is a really good fighting game worth getting into and playing for a bit. And it's good fun, and there's a nice variety of characters there, so you should find something that kind of suits the way you might want to play it a bit more anyway. So yeah.
I mean, and how's it aged as well? Because I remember when Virtua Fighter 5 first came out, it was like, oh my God, have you seen the graphics on this? This is incredible.
Look at the graphics.
As I said, there was nothing that was blowing me away. It's not bad, and it's like, oh yeah, that looks nice, but it's not like, oh my God, wow, that looks amazing kind of thing. Right? So it was like, oh yeah, that looks decent. Like it wasn't, yeah, it still wasn't blowing me away type of thing. But yeah, as I said, still at its core, a really good fun game and definitely worth playing if you like fighting games, especially if it's one that's passed you by in previous years, basically.
And it gives us another fighter to beat each other up with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Worth having for
we
that.
like them.
It's not just drinking special brew and meeting up round the Into in Uxbridge anymore.
Yeah.
Bosh. Anyway, talking of other aspects of your misbegotten youth, Timothy, you've also been dabbling in a bit more Evercade goodness with Collection 1 of the Namco Museum.
Yes. Now, as I said, I talked about the hardware last week a little bit more. I will talk about a little bit more about that because I did some other stuff with that this week as well. But generally, I'm going to talk about some of the games. And I said I've got a few games to talk about this week. That's because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games.
He's not picking up physical games to show the camera.
11
again,
games. So,
yeah, he's picking up physical games to show the camera. Museum.
There's a couple of obvious ones in there which I won't dwell on too much because most people seem to, know exactly what you're getting in there. Galaxian.
I have a question.
Yes?
Already, I have a question.
Okay.
What are you getting in there?
Is this the best museum you've ever been to?
I don't know. I kind of like normal museums. The last time I went to the V&A, it was for a video game exhibition, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went to wasn't a museum, but it was an art gallery thing on...
an art gallery. I went to a place where they had art and it was in a gallery.
Well, it was one of those places where I don't think it was usually an art gallery, but they were using it for that purpose for this thing, basically.
A pop-up gallery.
Yes. For someone that would have absolutely hated the fact that they were doing that.
Excellent. Anyway, on topic.
Yeah. Anyway, so off topic. But yeah, generally, Galaxian and Pac-Man, you kind of know what you're getting with that. I was under the impression that the version on this was, and I don't know why, I think because I'd associated it with the Atari collection and that being the 2600, that it was going to be the bad 2600 port. But I don't think it is. I don't remember the entire differences between that, but it seems like the arcade port to me. So that is good news, basically.
I mean, the 2600 graphics are even worse than you remember, is my general rule.
Yeah,
of thumb.
quite possibly. And I believe I am correct in saying that this is not that. It also doesn't have the box art from the 2600 or anything like that. So I believe I am correct in saying it is the arcade version. The one that I was a bit disappointed in until I played it a bit later, but and I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. But Xevious, is it Xevious?
Xevious, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'd played the original one, and I think I'd played Xevious 3, I think.
That's the stuff you put in coffee when you're off sugar, right?
A sequel at some point,
That's
anyway.
xylitol, mate.
But yeah, this is a proper... I mean, look, it's going back away. I think this is one of the ones that was 84, 85, 1984 and 85. So yeah, it's going back a bit. But yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't realise this game was that basic. It's a kind of, top-down scrolling kind of, shoot 'em up. But yeah, it's really, really basic. And in my head, I think I had this was more like Xevious 2 or 3 or whatever it was that I played, basically. And I was like, oh, I did not realise this game was quite so basic. Interestingly, I found this game, and I was going to come onto this, I picked up a lead so that I can plug it into the HDMI and played it on the TV. I was actually surprised how good the general UI of the actual hardware looks on the screen, like interacting between games. When you're actually on the handheld screen, it can be difficult to make out some of the information they've got on there and some of the stuff that looks
I have a question.
Way bigger on the TV and is much clearer to see, yeah?
Have you tried moving the handheld close to your face?
Yeah, but there's a game on there called Metal Marines, which is like an old 16-bit strategy game. I'm guessing it's a SNES game, not entirely sure, but it certainly looks and feels very much like a SNES game. Interestingly, I might know why didn't hear of this before. Did this ever come out in America?
Yes, it did. No, it came out in Europe. There's a PAL version of it.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. You know why? Because it's a story about Japan invading America.
Oh yeah, that's not going to go down well.
So yeah, that would have been good. But it is a good little strategy game. It's a bit obtruse, and I had to do some digging online to actually find how to play the game. That's one thing. Playing through a load of old 8 and 16-bit games gave me a healthy reminder of the kind of approach of, oh yeah, no tutorials for you. Here is a game. I hope you find out the buttons. Kind of approach to video game design that, yeah, obviously, we've kind of got lazy and that isn't the way anymore. But yeah, it was a good re-education in the, oh yeah, I really need to experiment with all the buttons and get on with things. But yeah, I really enjoyed most of the games on here. There's a couple that I just didn't take to that were platformers that I really didn't care about.
It did get released in the States, by the way.
It did get released in the States. I am surprised, and I would be even more surprised if they didn't change some of the text of what was happening. But Metal Marines is, yeah, when you get into it, it's actually a really decent little strategy game, and one that I'm surprised we didn't hear more of in the future, possibly.
And was released in Japan as well.
That was decent. But yeah, there was a couple of platformers, Mappy and Mappy Kids. I tried both of them, and I tried again. I kind of went back to them. Mappy Kids, I just can't get on with. But Mappy is a lot more. I think that was again, an earlier game like 84, 85, and then Mappy Kids came a few years after, that sort of range. But yeah, Mappy I actually went back to and actually got into. It's a weird kind of one of those early platformers where you've just got a set of different levels on one screen almost, and you can shift across that screen. There's a little bit of scrolling between screens. But it's got a thing, and I can't work out what the story is, but for some reason, you seem like a security guard that can bounce on trampolines. You're safe from the enemies when you're on trampolines, but otherwise they kind of chase after you, and the only way you can deal with them is to open a door that sets off an alarm and throws them backwards.
Well, I mean, there's a common misconception that the soft play areas in shopping centres are there for the kids. They're actually a highly sophisticated protection device to protect the stock of all of the shops who are in there. It's true.
But yeah,
you learn something new every day, Tim. Art imitating life.
That I actually got into and played my way through the first 3 levels and figured out how to play it. And you're picking up seemingly bits of art, and I can't work out if you're trying to rob the place or trying to defend the place from robbers. I really don't know.
Mappy is trying to protect the place.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. That would make sense.
He's a security guard.
With the alarms. And he
of
looks
the gallery.
Yeah, I think so.
One of them gallery type things.
Well,
okay.
An art gallery, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Are they like a museum for pictures?
It's a similar kind of aesthetic to Burger Time, where you've got the multi-levels and you're going up and down and trying to, It's one of those types of arcade games.
Yeah. But Mappy Kids seem to have nothing to do with it. It was just, hey, look, mascot platformers. We could churn out a crap version of one of those. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Throw
really no
shade
time for that. That wasn't as good as its predecessor, I don't think. One I was really surprised about, a game called... have you ever heard of a game called Star Luster?
Star what now?
Don't worry about Mappy Kids. It's not worth your time, Dan. Think about Star Luster. We're moving on to Star Luster. Have you ever heard of a game called Star Luster?
Am I lusting after stars, or is it the luster of the stars that I'm so impressed with?
Basically, and
is that
game you mentioned last week,
Chris
Dan.
Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy?
It's basically, it seems like an arcade version of Elite, almost. I assume it was on arcades back in the day, but it's kind of, really old school. Again, I think it was 85 for this one. I keep on saying that, and I've definitely got that wrong on one of them, but I think this one was about 85. But I'd never heard of it before.
It was 1985. Bang on for this one.
Why have I never heard of this game? It's really simple, kind of 8-bit, old school kind of thing that you would have thought would have been said in the same kind of breath as the Star Wars original arcade game and Elite and stuff like that. I just don't know why I never heard of this before.
I have a Famicom cartridge of this in the attic.
Ooh!
Wow! Have you got an OG Japanese Famicom?
No, I have a Retron 5 that plays Famicom games. Wow. So I've got. I used to go on eBay and pick up before the prices spiked for used games. I used to pick up 50 pence used cartridges off of eBay.
Nice.
And, So I've got a bunch of those in the attic. I should probably stick them on eBay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
probably should.
Starluster was surprisingly playable despite its really simple 8-bit graphics. And yeah, I quite enjoyed that, and just you can just sort of zip around the galaxy and shoot things. But it's surprisingly good kind of little radar thing that helps you find stuff in 3D space. Like, considering how simple the graphics are, and as I said, it's a very simple looking 8-bit game. But yeah, I was really impressed with that. That was quite interesting. One game that I'd never got on with before, that's one of their Namco's classic arcade games, and I'd never really got on with it, but Dig Dug. I don't know how you guys...
I like Dig Dug.
Oh yeah, Dig Dug.
I like me some Dig Dug.
I'd never got on with it. I think I'd played it a couple of times on like similar like collection-y type things or retro type stuff, but I'd never really like spent any time with it, and I didn't realise that you could repeatedly press things to inflate them. I thought you could just keep things off you with the spike thing, and then kind of have...
That's where the kink started on the internet.
Yeah,
I think.
and have the falling rocks things come up. But actually, yeah, getting into that and playing through that, I was like, actually, I don't dislike Dig Dug as much as I used to. I can kind of see the appeal. I should have played this before.
You're mellowing in your old age, Tim.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. But then, yeah, there's battle cards on there as well, which is a kind of interesting Mode 7 style F-Zero-like shoot 'em up and racing game type thing. So, in the kind of vein of Mario Kart and F-Zero and all that type of stuff, but slightly more simplistic and a bit of a kind of, like spiky car road warrior type look to the kind of the cars and all that type of stuff.
Has this got anything to do with the Games Workshop franchise of the same name?
No, but it looks like that type of thing. Or, well, not that I know of, but it does definitely look like it was influenced by those type of, car designs and all that type of stuff. And you've got, like, missiles and saw blades that you're firing at other people on the track. It's weirdly got this thing where you've got, like, the first lap where you've just got to destroy as many cars as possible, but while going fast. And then the second part of the race is the actual race. But you can fire weapons while doing that, and then you can upgrade your car between those two races and between sets of races as well, basically. But yeah, like it's a bit old school and yeah, interesting. That was one that I thought I could appreciate the graphics more again on the TV than when I was playing it on the handheld. It wasn't bad to play on the handheld. It was just like, oh, actually, this looks a bit nicer than I thought it did, kind of thing. The 16-bit kind of graphics, I think, benefit even more from being on TV. But most of the things on there were playable. There's another racing game that's, I think, an old arcade game, Quad Challenge, and I really couldn't figure out why I was suffering in that until I worked out that it had a high and a low gear, and you had to kind of shift between the two at the right time. And I can imagine that being on the arcade and that having a physical stick where you shifted between them, possibly, because that's the type of thing they often had in racing games in the arcade. I think this one hasn't aged as well. It probably did look impressive back in the day where it had a verticality to the kind of jumps you were jumping up and stuff like that, and you could go quite high if you were going quickly. But yeah, I don't think it's aged quite as well. It's quite tough as well, so this is one I've tried a few times but not really got progress that far in it as well. So yeah, like that could influence it. Might go back to it at some stage, but yeah, I preferred the battle cars out of the two racing games in the collection, basically. And then there's another little puzzle game in there, Rabble, I think it's called. Yeah, that one I tried to get on with, but it was a bit like trying to pat your head and rub your stomach type thing. It basically, you're trying to move 2 arrow points and encircle them around a collection of pegs that have got treasure in them without encompassing any of the enemies that are trying to encroach upon you. And you can move one arrow with just the D-pad, and then you move the other arrowhead with any one of the 4 face buttons. So, as I said, it's trying to move one while trying to move the other and not necessarily moving them in the same direction at the same time. As I said, it could be one, like, if you spend a bit of time and get used to that mechanic, that's fun, but I didn't find much enjoyment with that one, basically.
Not a big fan.
No. But overall, the collection and the experience of playing them on the TV, I'm like, okay, yeah, not only am I kind of sold on the device. I'm glad that I spent a bit more time with some old school games, like just appreciating a game like Dig Dug, which I'd never like really got into before. Never really dug, if you're going to go into, pun levels.
No, Tim.
But
no.
yeah, like there's.
I did not dig that.
There's one thing that the save slot system on the general UI it's okay, and it gives you like loads of different save slots. But from what I can understand, it might be easy to save. I'm not sure if it gives you individual save slots per game, or it gives you a set load of slave slots that you can accidentally save over. And also, I would like it if it gave you a text confirmation when you're actually saving, because you just press save and it's the exact same as accidentally pressing the back out button to go back to the game kind of thing. So, yeah, like that, I would like some confirmation of saved or something just to say that.
So I have a question.
Yes?
Let's come back to the TV thing before you move on too much. Because one of the challenges is with a lot of kind of emulating retro consoles or actually hooking things up is that a lot of the timing and a lot of the ways they were expecting people to interact with the game was actually quite reliant on the technology of a CRT screen.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't necessarily translate that well. It could be lag or it could be odd visual artifacts that sometimes happen with modern screens.
Yeah.
Have you found it pretty good so far?
I did not. I did notice that the trademark for all of the games is 2020, so I assume there's been some work done to make them function well within that environment, basically.
They're doing a Nintendo.
Yeah, and I think, that's part of the appeal of this sort of system over picking up retro systems. I think, CRTs are going to be harder and harder to get hold of and do take up a lot of physical space. And yeah, this is a good way of getting access to those games without having a load of the problems. Like literally, I bought a HDMI to mini HDMI cable that was just long enough for me to sit down at my couch. It was
someone's
about
earning.
$10 or so. Like it wasn't massively expensive, but yeah, like I think that's a really good way of playing these games. And the device being a capable handheld device that I've enjoyed playing on, and as I said, I can take it to the park, I can take it to on my balcony and stuff like that, where I don't get to
take it to the
play
bridge.
games most of the time.
You daredevil, Timothy.
It's no Nintendo Switch. I'm not taking it to a rooftop party or a basketball court, obviously, but But yeah, but that functionality and being able to use it as a device to play the games on my TV as well, I've been extra impressed with it this week, basically. So yeah, I've reviewed the Namco Museum collection first out of what we're doing. Even though it's 02, they've numbered all the different cartridges, basically. This is 02. But I did this one first just because this is the one that comes as a pack-in if you just get the £60 version that you were talking about the other week, Dan. But it's also part of the 3 games packed in as well. So I'll come back and talk about some more games next week. And yeah, right. I think one has more games on it, one has less. So I'll try and find a balanced way of talking about lots of games at once. But yeah.
Are you now sponsored by Evercade, Tim?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, all right. Just checking.
I mean, they gave me the system. I'm going to play games on it. But I'm really glad they did. I'm really glad I got a chance to play a load of retro stuff in a good way. So yeah.
I'll have to bring round the ROM hack of Battle Cars that turns it into Mario Kart, because it's very, very cool. I think you get a kick out of that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it just Mario Kart with swords and missiles, basically, yeah?
I'll send you a video.
Okay.
Nice.
I think you'll like this. Right, shall we do some news?
Hey, let's do some news, Coleman. I like news.
Cool. So just before we started recording, earlier this week there was a press conference for Xbox, and one that confused me because all the headlines say Xbox press conference, and I couldn't find the blooming thing everywhere. It's because it was a closed Xbox conference.
Are you sure it wasn't an earnings call or something like that?
It was. It's like an earnings call, but it was just for press. It was like a pre E3 presser. So we weren't meant to see it, but that spurred all the current headlines that have been going everywhere. So I've collated a few of them. There's quite a large section that's dedicated to Xbox announcing that they're officially moving beyond consoles with the backing of Microsoft. So they're basically focusing on PCs and cloud-based software and what have you moving forward. But they also went through like a large portion of Phil Spencer speaking to the CEO of Microsoft and them saying, I don't know why we're focusing on video games in 2014. And now at this point, they've got their full backing of, yes, we should be focusing on video games.
Exactly, because that was my memory of when Satya Nadella took over from Bill Gates, was that he was very close to spinning off the Xbox business. Very, very close. And, you know, I kind of, looking at where the Xbox business was back at that time after the frankly moderately disastrous launch of the Xbox One, I kind of can't blame him. But, you know, I think it's a bit of a testament to how well Phil Spencer's done, taking time off from location to run.
Different Phil Spencer.
And some others do have him.
Yeah, exactly. And to head up Xbox. And, you know, I think he's played the long game on this, Phil, and he's done really well.
But yeah, the kind of story goes there is that the Xbox One sold well when it was first launched, but there was no kind of retention to the platform, and people were moving to the competitor of PlayStation 4 at the time. And now that seems to be slowly changing around, where they've actually got a decent footing, and it's because of all the kind of, hey, we're doing our first party games on Game Pass and we're launching on the PC the same day as the Xbox, and like support to other platforms. They're going to be looking at that support going forward. That said, there was the idea of the Xbox experience to be built into smart TVs going forward, and as well as producing streaming sticks, which have come up in rumors before. A little USB that you stick into, or a HDMI stick or whatever you stick into your console, much like a Chromecast or a Fire Stick or something like that, but to play Xbox Game Pass off of.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the way in which they're implementing kind of xCloud for, I know it's not called that anymore, but you know,
it's Game Pass.
The Game Pass streaming side of things is that you can now play it on iOS and PC, but it is entirely browser driven, and clearly that's where they're going with the smart TV thing, or on a stick. Just as long as you've got something that's got some dedicated video decoding hardware in it, and presumably a Bluetooth chip or something equivalent for the controller, you should be good to go.
Well, I can see them just straight up making apps for Samsung
I think
TVs,
that's the intention.
an app for
I think that's the intention going forward. They're speaking to smart TV manufacturers, so the idea is they build an app that comes with the television that you can then install or. The way this usually works, as I've learnt with my smart TV, is it comes preloaded with apps, or they update it to auto-install apps that you then aren't allowed to remove unless you know how to get into your developer mode and do some very sneaky stuff.
So basically, a Microsoft vying for like the equivalent of the big Netflix button on remote controls.
Yeah. I don't know if it'd be like the physical remote control. You know, it's there and then you just press that. But definitely when you go to your menus,
Rituken button. Who the hell put that on a Samsung remote control, eh?
What, a Hadouken button?
Rituken.
I don't have any of those, but whenever I go to switch inputs on my TV, then it will pop up, like a little floating bar will pop up from the bottom, and it will show like,
that looks like a pair of underpants on the video.
Putting things at the camera, it's pointless. But yeah, it will pop up and say like BBC iPlayer and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that kind of stuff.
I've got a distinct memory that Sony did try and do this with smart TVs and set-top boxes a couple of years ago.
When Sony announced PlayStation Now, is it the service?
Yeah, the thing that was Gaikai.
When they announced PlayStation Now for I think it was just before the PS4 came out when they initially announced it, but they were showing it running on Sony phones and tablets and laptops. And the intention was, they said going forward, that it wouldn't just be Sony products, it will also be going to like your Apples and your Androids and what have you, and then also going to smart TVs going forward. But because the service didn't seem to latch on in the way they'd hoped, that got scrapped going forward. In fact, I think it was only like 2 years ago that they said they stopped with that plan to do that going forward. But the Xbox Game Pass is selling incredibly well. Like the retention of people that have an Xbox to have the service as well it's up there. It's huge numbers. So it makes sense to do that.
Well, the thing that really interested me about it that was forming part of the conversation between them was that actually viewing it as a discovery platform for people as well. That it's kind of, look, this is a low risk way in which people can try out new games, try out new experiences, or developers can get stuff they're working on in front of people. And I think that's a really interesting, an obvious angle on it, but one that I hadn't really heard, that execs of a company really draw much attention to before. And I think, yet again, I know there's probably people out there going, oh, Dan's turning into an Xbox. But, Microsoft have played a blinder. They have played a blinder. Yeah,
I don't know if you saw as part of this, or I don't know if it was part of this. I think it came out of this announcement as well, but they've also teased the fact that there'll be a screen that you can have attached to the Xbox Series S.
Oh, so like the old one you used to be able to get for the PlayStation 1?
Yeah, or the GameCube screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
Makes sense.
Reminding people of GameCube, I think, as well, but yeah.
There's this kind of side hustle on the internet where people make these briefcase PlayStations and Xboxes where they make this like quite large carry case system, and then they build in speakers and battery and monitor and everything, and then you just buy your console and you slot it in there, and then you can take that out and about with you. And I tend to see
that's
those.
That's how everyone knows I'm a cool dude.
Yeah. And the only time I ever see them is being reviewed. No one ever has one of those because they cost like $2,000. So this looks like a more cost-efficient.
I'm sure there's some rich people that buy them to play in their gardens and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I can remember that Ben Heck's always trying to build one. I'm sure
Ben Heck was.
Commission jobs.
I think he was like the first big one that did this on 360 back in the day, and he was like, "Look, a portable 360." But loads of people, and now they're actual manufacturers that make these things as consumer products, but they are stupidly expensive.
It was like a handheld N64 at one point, wasn't it?
Probably. There's loads of stuff online, mate, if you look for it. I'm always looking at hacking jobs because they're fun. But yes, going back to this, the other part of this is that they've announced that the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, they will be able to use Game Pass on Chrome, Safari, and Edge pretty soon. That's going to open up to all the web browsers for you, which... If you're having weird problems like I did, where you can't, you boot up the app and it's lagging and you just can't, I get this weird issue where the signal goes full 5 bars and then just drops down to 1 and it just keeps intermittently jumping up and down. I stopped using the app and went to the browser because I'm in the beta program for the browser, and it just solved all the problems. Just played it through the browser all the time. Stays on a full 5 bars. So I don't know what's up with the app. It doesn't like me. I don't know if it's my phone company or what, but hey. The other thing is they said that not just is it a focus on mobiles and PC and cloud-based and TVs and all that kind of stuff. They are looking at new hardware as well. The idea is that the consoles going forward will be the flagship experience, and then also support to the other devices as well. Just a larger number of support that we've been seeing in the last couple of years. But they're already working on the next line of hardware for the Xbox.
Of course they are.
It's no surprise to anyone. There's always R&D going on in these companies or what the next console is going to be, or what the next iteration to the console is going to be, how to make it smaller, how to make it cheaper, how to sell it for more money, how to get more improvements in the latest technology and stuff that's always looked at.
Aren't you cynical, Coleman?
Well,
I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I'll be pleased when there's a slimmer, less ugly PS5 available. I don't mind about the Xbox so far, but hey.
It's not happening, mate.
No, they're going.
Can't get the original ones. You're not going to get a new one.
Exactly.
Fan fiction.
I mean, unless they're going to do an NVIDIA and just release the next one while people are still waiting to get the first one and gouge the price.
If there was ever a company to go, we need to put our first-party games available on smart TVs and phones and PC, it's probably PlayStation, because no one can buy their sod in boxes. So
yeah, that's also true.
The install base of the PlayStation 4 is massive. So they're just like, screw it, we're just going to put it out on that.
Yeah, that'll work. And yeah, so that's what they're looking at as well. And there was apparently part of this press announcement, I don't know, press rundown. They went that there was apparently quite a snide comment of Phil Spencer at throwing some shade at PlayStation, not by name though, and was basically saying, "Hey, look, Other platform holders, they bring out their first party titles a year after they've been released on their main console and then bring them to PC and then charge you full price or even more money for the experience of playing with a higher frame rate and what have you. Not us at Xbox. We do it day one and we put it on Game Pass so you can get it through subscribing, but we sell it outright as well and it will be the same price the whole time. And yeah, so
I mean, he's got a point, to be fair.
He does have a point. Out of the main three, being Sony and Xbox and PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, Xbox seems to be the consumer friendly product compared to the other two. I mean, if you can get the same games on Nintendo, but you're at the
Tim's got the ump about that.
Well, you can get similar.
Tim's got the hump.
You can. Well, let me explain why before you get your ass on.
I didn't. He interrupted for me.
Okay, but you're pulling faces.
I just saw your face go.
But my point being is with Nintendo, I mean with PlayStation, you know, exactly what he said. They port it to other systems. They wait a year later. You got to pay, you know, the same as a retail price of the new game or even more. Whereas Nintendo as well, some games are available. Some of them you've got to really work around for it by using cloud-based systems and pay full price for those games as well. Other ones, there's cases of you're paying slightly more money to play it on your Switch than you are on your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series X because Nintendo tax that just happens to exist for no reason. Is it the cartridges? No, it's a digital game. Why are you charging me more money to play this on the Switch?
Because they give everyone some money back, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
And for some cases as well, a more inferior product. So, you know, that's just I love my Switch.
More inferior.
I love my Switch, but that is a problem.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about that, and I think it was part of the problem with, say, Cyberpunk recently and other games, is like when you are developing multi-platform, like how much does that slow down and limit some of the availabilities to not just concentrate on your platform. Like, I'm not saying that. I think PC, from what I understand, PC ports are a bit easier to make than if they were making it multi-console, for instance, basically. But there's going to be some development and some, you know, there will be some slowdown to the development and release of the game if you're doing it on more than one platform. No.
I think it depends on a couple of things. I mean, game engines are getting better and better in terms of you develop it using one set of tools, and then that takes care of working out what resolution to spit out the textures, what, you know, how detailed the model should be for your target platform, and it will do a lot of that work for you. But I think with Sony, where a lot of stuff, and to a lesser degree Microsoft, but Sony very much where a lot of their first-party titles are so optimized for the PlayStation hardware that is actually a challenge to convert it for other things. I think I can understand that they are so preoccupied with making it the absolute best it can be on the platform that they have absolute say over. I get it, but that does mean that, you know, moving it to other platforms is going to be a challenge.
I mean, if you're as long as you're developing on a PC that has AMD components, then you're sorted for your PlayStation and your Xbox. And it's possibly because I am a multi-console gamer and generally have been. But I like having a game that is tailor-made to the platform and is therefore taking full advantage of the platform. We're getting slightly away. Like, that was one point I was going to make. But the other just general point I was going to say is that I think Phil Spencer is beating them with a stick that he knows he has a chance to beat them with, and they can't really do much back. Sony aren't in the position to have parity and day one releases with PC in the same way that Xbox are. But I'm not necessarily sure that is as big a bigger problem for Sony as he is making out. Like, the sale of these games would have possibly been better if they were launched day and date on PC. But would that have harmed the sale on PlayStation as a result? Like just because you are gaining a PC sale now, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't gain it some point in the future by selling a version that comes out a year later.
I think the other thing I would say is that Sony and Microsoft's end game now for what they want their platforms to be are now very different. Microsoft, it's all about truly, it's a platform. They don't care what device you use to access that platform, but they're leveraging the massive install base of Windows across the globe, where essentially you can get into all your Xbox goodness via your PC if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Whereas Sony is still reliant on their little white boxes, or massive white boxes, big white boxes, being under people's tellies in order for them to actually enjoy the games they want to buy.
Right, but as it stands, and as you say, especially with supply being a problem, this is probably a good tactic for Xbox. But as it stands, PlayStation have, I believe from what we've seen and what is known, PlayStation have sold more consoles, and there is a higher demand for those consoles, and they are selling out as soon as they go into shops, whether that's not necessarily the case with every Xbox, basically. Right.
I think, that's my argument isn't like who's going to make the most money or who's selling the most. What I'm saying is, like, I know that they're all companies that they've all got to, they've all got to work on their line and make sure that they're making money for shareholders and what have you. And like all corporations, I feel, are evil anyway, and all this kind of stuff, But at the same time, on the outside looking in, out of what they are offering, out of the three main companies at the moment, Xbox seems the most consumer friendly through what they're offering at this moment in time. That's what I was trying to say through it.
And
I'm not saying who's got the smart strategy and who hasn't, who looks more appealing out of the three right now.
But I have to say, Microsoft and the Xbox in particular must be really enjoying having their turn with the stick after the absolute ruddy thrashing they got, fully deserved, in 2012 and 2013 from Sony. With the sharing games. Here's your DVD. Oh, thanks, mate. That's how you share a game.
I don't think it was even that. I mean, in some countries, the Xbox came out first. Like in Australia, the Xbox came out first before the PlayStation. It sold better than the PlayStation. In other countries, PlayStation came out first, and also it's a cheaper console out of the two when they first released. I decided when I saw both of them, I want both of these consoles, but at the time, PlayStation had the cheaper console. I will get the PlayStation first and then save up my pennies for an Xbox down the line. I think other people did that as well. Bought them secondhand. Those don't really reflect on purchases. It's just one of those things. It's who's got the more appealing looking offer at the start.
Yeah, but still, you're saying that Xbox are doing really well. They're still third in a 3-horse race at the moment. Like they're not like they are gaining ground. They are not as far behind as they were, but they're still not winning the race.
I'm not saying they're doing really well. I'm saying they're the more appealing one for consumers at this moment in time.
Right, but consumers aren't agreeing with you. I'm saying like gamers and
Some
people and your level of knowledge and interaction with the gaming world can see a greater appeal to Xbox at the moment. But
I know what I mean.
But your general consumer and your general purchaser of a console at the moment is not agreeing with you.
I mean, I bought an Xbox solely on the fact I couldn't get a PlayStation.
Yes,
and I'm sure there are other people that have done the same as well.
Xboxes as well. But
and then
that maybe
people like me, I work with people that are into games, but not to this level like we are, that they check out the news and stuff. And they say to me, where can I get a PlayStation? You can't get a PlayStation. Oh, by the way, I got this console. It's digital only. It's cheaper. It's called an Xbox Series S. They're available. You can get them anywhere. You could probably walk into a store right now and pick one up. You get this thing called Game Pass. It will just give you these games that you can play and explain all that to them. And I'm sure there are other people that have done that as well. I bought an Xbox because I couldn't get a PlayStation. It was a cheaper option anyway. By the way, word of mouth, here's this really cool thing. I think down the line, I don't know if we're going to see Xbox overtake PlayStation in this generation, but I can see them getting a much bloody good close second,
And I still come back to, I think the metrics by which they're judging themselves now is very different. And to them, the end game for Microsoft now isn't about shipping the largest number of consoles. It's getting as many people in front of their games as they can, no matter what.
It's
and I'm not saying it's a bad strategy, but they deliberately changed the narrative around that to suit their situation.
But that's business for you, mate. That's
I'm
business.
not saying it's not clever. I'm just saying, that's a deliberate move.
That is the business.
Yes.
That is how business works.
Just when you think you've got all the answers, Xbox changed the questions.
Wow. 1990s marketing, loving it.
That's a bit of Rowdy Roddy Piper for you there.
Yeah, of course it is.
All right, very quickly.
Yes.
Who wants a new Battlefield game?
I have a question. Does it have a campaign?
No.
Okay. Does it have refugees but not making any political statements whatsoever?
Almost
Possibly.
certainly.
Okay.
I don't know. It's EA, not Ubisoft, so it's hard to tell.
No, to be fair, there was a whole IGN interview. I believe it was IGN. Kind of slightly maybe threw the developer under the bus a little bit, but also I don't think he did himself any favours. But yeah, it was generally saying that there are, I think there's refugees and there's displaced people and there's other things going on in the game as well that raise a few sort of questions, but it's just they were there for gameplay purposes only, not making a political statement. It's like,
right.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I've got to get.
Ubisoft just did this with Far Cry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to give them credit for the Battlefield 2042 trailer.
It is
a game
ridiculous.
that everyone expected, but everyone expected sharp, but no one can quite remember asking for in the first place. I think it's probably a fair way to describe it.
I know we've got a few listeners that are excited.
Bleezy, very excited. We had him on the show recently.
Bleezy gets excited about a lot of things.
I mean, that's true, but he would get very excited for this. So no.
I kind of quite like the way they lent into the ridiculousness of it a bit with tongue-in-cheek, where it's like someone in a dogfight who ejects from their plane, doesn't use a parachute, but whips out a rocket launcher, presumably from their anus, because where else were they storing it, blows up another plane, then dives to catch up with his plane and flies off into the sunset. Yeah, all right, okay, fair enough. At least you are finally acknowledging that some of the stuff is
how
mad.
Ridiculous things are.
EA do tend to do really good trailers for Battlefield. I will give them that. Like every Battlefield game, I'm never I never want to play them, but I'm always looking at the ads going, "Oh, they got Robert Downey Jr. in this one."
Yeah,
well that's
really
the
good,
thing. I always look at the Battlefield trailers going, "Wow, I really want to play. That looks amazing." Then I remember how terrible I am at Battlefield.
Like, do I want to run for 5 minutes across the battlefield, get sniped? And then
you see, I would be happy with the destruction tech. Just that's why I love Bad Company so much. Single player game, give me some buildings to blow up. I will be as happy as Larry.
That's the thing. I immediately lost all interest when it said no campaign. Like as much as as you say, it's a nice
or
looking
battle
multiplayer,
royale mode. No Firestorm.
I don't care about that either. Like it's got massive hurricanes and thunderstorms and things in it by the looks of things as well, but. Yeah, I mean,
and 128 player, big old
sure
fights.
What
do they think they are? Mag? Whoa, mad lads!
No, that would be 256.
Yeah,
right. Anyway, there's a new Battlefield game. I was trying to skim past it, but Tim's really, really impassioned about this all of a sudden. It's coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, PS4 and Xbox One on October the 22nd. Battlefield 2042, no campaign, just multiplayer. 128 player, as Dan said, on PC, 64 player on consoles. Enjoy, if that's your thing.
I'm sure it'll be a mighty fine multiplayer experience.
There will be more to see at E3, I'm sure. Or no, wait, isn't the EA thing after E3? They're doing it later. I can't remember.
I did look at a schedule. Anyway. I've forgotten it all.
It's on June 13th, any which way.
And the last one,
Jeff's things first, anyway. So you know,
I've got another question for you as well.
Oh, right.
Do you like the games of Tom Clancy?
Hey,
some of them.
I love a Tom Clancy game.
Some of the games, some of the films.
Do you like Splinter Cell?
Hey, I quite like Splinter Cell.
Do you like The Division?
Oh, I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Do you like Ghost Recon?
Some of them.
Takasba? Is this
the
Tom
original
Clancy's
one?
All-Star Battle Royale?
Ghost Recon
Takasba.
2.
Is it Takasba? Is it Takasba?
Ghost Recon something else.
Would you like the Tom Clancyverse combined?
3DS.
Would you like this combined into a first-person shooter PvP title?
I'll stop you there, Coleman. Hell no, would I not?
Well, it's the lowest common denominator of game design, so sure, why not?
Yeah. This is a leak that's come out from several different sources. The first one being 0 Bytes, which by the time I got hold of this, I'm putting this down as credible because every single one of the screenshots has been pulled for copyright by Ubisoft.
That's incredible.
Oh!
Yeah,
But there's been a counter rumor to this as well, but...
Anyway, well, we'll get to that in a sec. So this is apparently for an in-development game called Battle Cat, which is an online first-person PvP multiplayer shooter that combines different franchises of the Tom Clancy series.
Apparently that's just the code name, the Battle Cat bit.
Yeah, Tom Clancy's Battle Cat does sound a bit silly, so I'm assuming it would be something else. But yeah,
Battle Cat is an awesome name for something.
Once again, Ubisoft still don't want to give us a Splinter Cell title, but they're quite happy to stick its main character in mobile games and PvP shooters and Ghost Recon and anything but its own flipping game.
Yeah, Sam Fisher will be in Just Dance before we get another Splinter Cell game. If he's not there already, he may have sneaked his way in.
I didn't watch the new Amazon show. Does he appear in the background just having a coffee in that?
Yeah, like, probably.
Do you like Splinter Cell? I'm in this now. Anyway, that's all the news we got.
All right. News. There's going to be a ton more news by the time we finish recording this show.
Yeah, maybe.
Depends
how much rubbish you talk, really, to be blunt. But, there we go.
E3 / Summer of Gaming show next week.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? I feel like it's not called that.
It's called Summer of Gaming.
Summer of Games, sorry.
Summer of Games.
Summer Games Fest? I had
that sounds right.
Is it that? Is it that? You what, I think it might be that.
I will use my mighty power of the internet.
It's called Healy's Amazing, Spectacular, Wondrous Summer Games Festival.
Summer Games Fest.
Featuring games in it.
Crikey, those are some Games Fest, is what
Sponsored
it's called.
by Gillette.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the show. We're going to gloss through everything at the end because we've gone over time.
Because we've gone long again.
We're good at that.
Yeah. We are very good at that. Anything, although I will always draw attention to Geek Out for Gosh. Any hotness that you need to make us aware of there, Tim?
No major things this week. Yeah, I really need to chase some of the things up for that and do some other stuff. But generally, anyone that doesn't know, Geek Out for Gosh campaign where you can stream and raise some money for the Great Ormond Street Hospital, which is obviously a great thing to be doing at any time, even more important in these kind of COVID times. It's harder for them to raise money, so video games is a really good way to do so. You can stream yourself or just sponsor anyone else that's streaming, and all the money will go to, the majority of the money will go to charity as far as I know, but I'm not sure who takes what percentages here and there, but it's a very small percentage.
This is a thrilling conversation.
The vast majority of the money will go to charity. But if you raised £250 or more, you can get an exclusive Insert Coin t-shirt and pin, so that's worth checking out. And there's more information on their social media channels and on their website themselves. Just search Geek Out for Gosh on your favourite place to do so. That is the number 4, Geek Out for Gosh.
Yeah, and you can do it whenever you flipping like. So it's not like a once-a-year extravaganza. It's like, hey, I'm a bit bored. I feel like saving some lives. This is exactly what you can do. So, hey, go check it out. Do
that.
And I think, if we're not taking questions, that's pretty much Another time. Sorry, question givers, but we will do your questions at some point.
I purposely didn't ask for any this week, and we still got a backlog.
Excellent. Alrighty, so we're going to start thinking about going. So thank you ever so much for listening. You need to point your internet at www.BigRedBarel.com because that's where we live. In the top right corner of that website, I believe there's a Discord thing. You should go and click on the Discord thing because that's where we like to hang out. And there's all kinds of fun things going on. And you will see my weekly attempts at trying to get a Destiny raid together, which have been successful of late. But I'm always looking for new people to Destiny raid with, so drop me a line if you feel like getting involved in that kind of shenanigans.
Oh, so you never got time for Sea of Thieves, but you got time for Destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. This week I will mostly be busy in Ratchet and Clank, so...
Lovely. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right, rub it in.
So you also should go to facebook.com/BigRedBarel, and I believe it's BigRedBarel TV on YouTube and at BigRedBarel on Twitter. So all those things, go there, do that. I think you should.
Also, just worth mentioning, all those links are available in the show notes. So when you're listening to this on your podcast listener of choice, then just click on the episode, look at the description. It'll be in the bottom of the text.
Wow.
But also,
that
just
is
another
good.
shout. Another shout out for people to go and watch the YouTube version. Coleman has done some really good work to make that actually worth watching these days. So go and do so. I've switched back from listening in other places to go watching the YouTube thing now. Generally, as my default.
And you get to see the faces which our face noises come out of,
which is scary and should come with some sort of warning.
Nice.
No one denies or says no. Just yes.
No.
I was too busy pulling Freddie Mercury faces.
Yep. So anyway, we're going to go now because we have to. So all that really remains is for me to remind you that I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
I have been Coleman.
Yeah, you have. And this has been a show, so thank you ever so much for listening to us. We will be back next week with an absolute metric butt-ton of news, so strap in, because there's going to be a lot. I'm going to have to be sedated, I think, because Tim's going to go on forever.
I've got a feeling it's going to be one of those weeks where an hour before the show you go, I'm really busy at work.
To be fair, every time I've had to say that, I have been. But,
I believe you, don't worry.
But I'm not going to lie, I might.
So join us next week where it's me and Tim and Rick
what
or
excuse
Bleezy
can
or
Dan
Ed.
come up with? So anyway, we will be back next week. So thank you ever so much for listening. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
Are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.
As you can see on the camera.
Point out
that is a handheld unit.
I will point out, Tim, you don't need to keep holding it up to the camera.
I know. I'm just doing that so
anyway.
the video listeners have.
He just wants to show off.
He's
just grandstanding, mate. He's like,
I want you to know I've definitely